We're going to talk about the difference between criticism and negativity coming up. For those of you who are new to this channel, I post daily game development videos with tips, tricks, and industry advice. So if you haven't already, consider subscribing. Alright, so today I'm going to talk about the difference between criticism and negativity. So a lot of times criticism and negativity get sort of confused for one another, and a lot of people think that they're the same thing, and they're not actually the same thing. Criticism is actually a subset of negativity. Negativity is a more broad term used to describe a lot of things. Criticism is a bit more specific than that. So for the purposes of this conversation, I'm going to say that negativity tends to be more subjective versus criticism being more objective. So criticism tends to be any sort of negative type feedback on something that tends to be fact-based, versus what most people would call negativity, or being negative about something, or pessimistic about something, if you will, being more opinion-based, or subjective. With negativity, or somebody who's being pessimistic about something or negative about something, generally it tends to be based on perceived failures or faults or issues with something. It doesn't tend to be based on fact. A lot of times it can actually be sort of a personal attack on somebody versus the actual subject being talked about. One example of this might be somebody says that a game developer in general sucks just because they don't like one of their games, or maybe they don't like any of the games that the developer puts out. And so an example of being negative about that would be saying that that developer sucks. Not that their products suck, and not necessarily backing them up with any facts. It tends to be greatly opinion-based. It's not really backed up by any facts. Now, if you were to say, this game is terrible because it's ridden with bugs, or this game is terrible because it crashes, those are fact-based things. If you're going to say something along the lines of, this game is terrible because I don't like the art style, that's more opinion-based. With facts, it tends to be more constructive because it tends to provide feedback to the developer. So a lot of people would prefer getting criticism, especially constructive criticism, versus just straight up negativity or subjective-based feedback. For example, when I'm reviewing a game, I try to be as fact-based as possible. Now, I might throw some opinions in there that I have, but I make sure to make it clear that there's a difference between what I'm saying is my opinion and something that's a straight-up fact. So the main point behind this is, if you are providing feedback to somebody on something, generally it is much better to go the constructive criticism route than destructive criticism or just straight up negativity or pessimism. Telling somebody why you don't like something is super valuable feedback to that person, and it helps them improve either that product or the next product that they make. And maybe they'll be able to put out something you like next time, versus just resorting to personal attacks or saying that whatever it is that they worked on sucks or that they suck. That's more destructive than it is anything else, and there's not really a need for it. And I realize that a lot of people out there, they may have something going on in their lives where they're unhappy with the way their life is going, or something about their life, and maybe that's one of their coping mechanisms to feel better about it, is to sort of attack other people and be negative about it. And that's one thing, and I'm not really... That's the kind of feedback that you just have to look over, right? That's not something that you should take to heart. If somebody comes up to you and says, I don't like your game because the frame rate is low on my device, that's fact-based feedback. That's useful. That's something that the developer can actually go and do something about. So to be completely honest, constructive feedback is a goldmine for anybody who is searching for feedback on something, whether it's games or whether it's making YouTube videos or what have you. That kind of feedback is the best thing that you can give somebody. If you're giving feedback to somebody on something, no matter what it is, no matter if you think it's terrible, keep it fact-based. Don't resort to personal attacks. Don't say whatever it is that you're talking about sucks without giving some sort of fact-based backup to that statement. Alright, so that's really all I have on that topic. When you're critiquing something, be constructive about it. Don't be negative about it. Don't be pessimistic. Provide constructive feedback that can actually help that person make a better product in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said before, if you're new here, consider subscribing, and I will see you guys tomorrow.